Oracle ERP Cloud is one of the most common ERP systems in the market. What exactly is Oracle ERP Cloud? I'm going to talk about that here today. My name is Eric Kimberling. I'm the CEO of Third Stage Consulting. We're an independent consulting firm that helps clients throughout the world with their digital transformation journeys. And Oracle ERP Cloud, it's one of the biggest ERP systems in the marketplace. It's number 2 in market share behind SAP S/4HANA, and commonly used by Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 organizations. Oracle's been around for a long time, but a lot of organizations still don't have a good understanding of what exactly Oracle ERP Cloud is. And so what I want to do today is describe and explain what exactly Oracle ERP Cloud is, as well as to talk about some of the strengths and weaknesses in a way that'll help you determine whether or not it's worth considering for your organization. Oracle ERP Cloud is a relatively new entrant to the ERP space. Oracle itself has been around for a long time, but this is their newer flagship product in Oracle ERP Cloud. Now, while the product itself is newer to the market, much like SAP S/4HANA and Microsoft D365 are, it's actually a product that had a head start over a decade ago in development, and that product was Oracle Fusion. Back in around 2010 or so, Oracle had spent a lot of time and money trying to develop this Oracle Fusion solution. Now, at the time, Oracle took a lot of flack for the fact that they never really released Oracle Fusion. They were having trouble with the technological development. And fast forward 10 years now, and Oracle is getting the last laugh because Oracle Fusion was actually a head start on their cloud flagship product. So while SAP and Microsoft and others are catching up and just now making that transition to the cloud, Oracle had that head start with Oracle Fusion. Now, Oracle is also a company that started off as a database company. And I'm going to come back to this point because that's very important as it relates to enterprise performance management and financial consolidation. I'm going to come back to that point later in the video, but it's worth noting now that Oracle databases are a key part of Oracle Fusion and Oracle ERP Cloud. And then finally, one thing that's worth noting is Oracle ERP Cloud is not the same as Oracle NetSuite. Oracle NetSuite is a product that Oracle acquired several years ago, and NetSuite focuses on small and mid-market companies, mostly smaller organizations, and it's a software as a service, multi-tenant cloud solutions. What that means is it's a subscription-based solution that's less flexible than Oracle ERP Cloud, and I'm going to come back to that point as well. But it's important to know that Oracle Fusion, Oracle ERP Cloud, and Oracle NetSuite are all different solutions, and what we're talking about here today is Oracle ERP Cloud. Cloud maturity is something that's on the top of mind for a lot of people evaluating potential enterprise technologies. And what cloud maturity means and alludes to is the fact that this newer cloud solution in Oracle ERP Cloud has not been around as long as, say, eBusiness Suite, which was Oracle's legacy product. Another legacy product that Oracle owns is JD Edwards. Those are two examples of legacy on-premise solutions that have been around for a long time and have a lot of maturity behind them. So Oracle is more recently making that adjustment to the cloud. And so what that means is two things. One is, on one hand, Oracle has a head start, as I mentioned before, with Fusion. They had a head start on that whole migration to the cloud. Certainly a head start over SAP and Microsoft Dynamics and some of the other vendors that are still scrambling to play catch up as it relates to the cloud. But on the other hand, it's still not a mature solution, especially when compared to eBusiness Suite or JD Edwards, for example, or even NetSuite, which is another product that Oracle owns. So the reason this is so important is because if you're looking to implement Oracle ERP Cloud within your organization, you want to recognize and understand where the weaknesses are and where the lower maturity levels are. We have a few clients, for example, in the manufacturing space that create complex make-to-order or engineer-to-order products. And what we found is that really tests and strains the Oracle ERP Cloud system in that a lot of that functionality that existed in eBusiness Suite, JD Edwards, and some of the older Oracle products has not yet made its way over to the cloud. Not because Oracle doesn't plan to do that someday, but because they just haven't brought all that legacy functionality over yet. So when evaluating Oracle ERP Cloud, it's really important to delineate between what the product is today and not confuse that with what their plans are for the future, because what we find is a lot of organizations get stuck with the limitations of that cloud maturity of the product. In general, Oracle has typically provided products that are very flexible. When you compare it to a product like SAP S/4HANA or some of the other leading products in the marketplace, Oracle ERP Cloud is more flexible. There's more tools and abilities to change and tailor and customize the software in a way that's going to meet your business processes and needs. This is mostly a good thing. It's mostly a positive thing. However, there's a dark side to that as well, in that just because you can change the technology doesn't mean you necessarily should. But having said that, in today's day and age, with the pace of change of technology and business models and business processes, it's nice to know that you have a flexible product and a flexible technology that can adapt along with your business, and that is one of the strengths of Oracle ERP Cloud. Historically, Oracle has been extremely strong in data, analytics, financial consolidation, etc. Anything related to enterprise performance management has been a strength of Oracle's. And part of this is because of its history as a database company. So by definition, it's a company that builds technology to capture data and provide reports and analytics coming from that database. But the other reason is because Oracle acquired another company in the early 2000s called Hyperion. And Hyperion is an enterprise performance management tool. It's a financial consolidation and reporting tool. So Oracle has a deep-rooted history in this whole concept of data, analytics, reporting, etc. And while a lot of organizations claim to have that same strength, Oracle has that strength in reality, but they've also taken that strength to another level with AI and machine learning. So a lot of ERP vendors, for example, are talking about machine learning and AI, but Oracle actually has the foundation to enable artificial intelligence and machine learning because of that data-oriented and enterprise performance management background that I described. So when we think about how machine learning and AI can be used within our organizations, it can relate to your financial close process and automating some of those processes. It can provide predictive analytics for your CRM and your sales team. It can also provide predictive analytics and machine learning for your supply chain. So it's really taking that data that Oracle captures so well in their products in general and making use of that and providing the next level of machine learning, predictive analytics, and artificial intelligence. So if that's the sort of technology, that emerging technology that's important to you as an organization, that can make Oracle ERP Cloud a good fit. Oracle ERP Cloud is meant to service large, complex, diverse organizations. And along with that focus on big, large, complex organizations is that the product itself becomes fairly complex. Not because it's over-engineered or it's complicated to use necessarily, but because it can do so much. And the fact that it can do so much means that implementing it can be a lot more difficult than implementing a smaller, more focused solution. Now, this complexity typically leads to increased time and cost during implementation. And the reason for that is because there's so much that needs to be configured and set up in order for the system to work when we look at end-to-end processes. Now, the downside of this is that it can be overkill and too much complexity and cost for smaller organizations. But if you're a larger organization, or if you aspire to be a larger organization, it's going to provide the breadth and robust capabilities that you're maybe looking for. And it may be that it's going to cost you a bit more, but as a larger organization, that may be an investment you're willing to make to scale your organization. So when thinking about Oracle ERP Cloud, it's important to think of it in the context of the complexity and cost relative to other solutions in the market. Now, unfortunately, one of the dark sides of Oracle ERP Cloud is that there is a track record of failures of companies that have tried to implement the solution unsuccessfully. And I would say that this has less to do than the product itself than the nature of the types of organizations that are generally trying to implement the solution. So by definition, because of their target audience and their target market, they're appealing to larger, more complex organizations, and larger, more complex organizations are more likely to fail in their implementations. So it's something to keep in mind. It's not necessarily something that points directly to the software, other than the fact that you want to make sure that you understand the maturity of the product and make sure you have poked holes and understand where the weaknesses are so that you can mitigate those risks. But beyond that, most of the issues that organizations have or seem to have with implementing the products trace back to the types of organizations they are rather than the product itself. So I hope this has given you some good overview of what Oracle ERP Cloud is. And if you're looking for definitions or more information about different types of ERP systems beyond just Oracle ERP Cloud, I encourage you to download our digital transformation report. It's an annual report we put out every year that provides software rankings and reviews, as well as other digital transformation best practices designed to help you through your digital transformation. So I encourage you to download that along with some of the other links and downloads and resources I've included descriptions and links to below. So if you found this information useful, and hope you have a great day.